Now, the Nile is Africa's and the world's longest and almost certainly its most important river. It is not only a spectacle to behold, but a key resource supporting the livelihood of millions along its course. Today, we commence special coverage on the River of Life. CCTV Africa has a dedicated team in Egypt leading this coverage, and we're now joined by Penina Karibe with more from that end. Penina?
Indeed, Beatrice, like you mentioned, we're in the heart of Egypt, and for the next 7 days, we'll be bringing you a special live coverage series on the River Nile. Now, we start our live coverage here in Aswan, and for the next 1 week, I'll be joined by my colleague Mohammed from the Egyptian State Television. Hi, Mohammed.
How are you? I'm fine, Penina. How are you?
I'm all right.
This is Mohammed Abdelmonem from the Egyptian State Television. We're here in Aswan, where the River Nile starts a journey in Egypt and goes down to feed Egypt live. Literally, it feeds Egypt live. This is a magnificent plateau we're sitting in. Is it your first time in here, Penina?
I've been to Egypt several times, Mohammed, but this is the first time I'm visiting Aswan, and I must say, it's extremely hot. We got a bit of reprieve today. The temperatures are bearably cool, but yesterday was extremely hot. And I was just wondering how people here cope with this harsh weather.
First of all, we're lucky today because the weather is great today. You can feel it's a little bit windy and chilly. But normally people come to Aswan in winter. This is more like a winter place for people. But we're almost in May, and this is the beginning of summer.
Right.
And
so it gets hotter as summer gets by.
Yes, exactly. And we're standing by the River Nile, and as I said before, this is the River of Life for Egypt. Here is Yasser Hakim with his special report about the Nile in the past, present, and future.
The river that gave life to this land flows through here in Aswan, the far south of Egypt. Many have disagreed over the source of the Nile in Eastern Africa. But for Egyptians, it means one thing: it's life. A step away from the river, and all you have is just desert.
Yet over the millennia, the Nile has some of the most fertile land in Africa. It's provided a transport network throughout Egypt, as well as supporting thousands of livelihoods across the country. The Nile was the driving force behind a great civilization that developed and rapidly advanced thousands of years ago. It is the life source for a nation, and to this day, it provides more than 95% of the water that Egyptians drink. New branches are to be cut to take its waters to the barren landscape in the west, opening it up to new settlements.
Egypt has tried to tame the River Nile before. We are on the Aswan Dam, which was built to try to control the flooding of the river. Even so, the River Nile remains a dominant force in this country. Ask any Egyptian what the Nile means to them, and you'll hear different stories. We're going to show you some of their tales in days to come. But what's more important is that for Egyptians, the Nile is about who they are and where they've come from. An extraordinary journey, and it starts here.
And in case you're joining us, this is a special coverage of the Nile River coming to you live from Aswan. Like I mentioned, we're just on the shores of the Nile River, and just looking far back behind us, you can see the contrast really between the really cool looking Nile waters and what looks like bare land. It's just rocks there. And Mohammed, I was just wondering, what is it that people here do for a living? Because it looks like nothing really much can come out of this.
Penina, people make use of everything possible here. They go fishing in the River Nile, they go planting on the ground, they go planting palm trees and other plants, and they do wonderful handcrafts here. You can go back home with lots of presents for all your friends.
I'm obviously going to grab some of those souvenirs, but you know, the Nubians are famous for handcrafting, and what's interesting is this is like a pastime for their women. Let's get more from Fahmida Miller.
This is where Egypt's first open stretch of the Nile begins. It leads to a place Egyptians know as New Nubia. The Nile has played a huge role in the lives of most Egyptians, but for the Nubians, this river has also been a source of great upheaval. Maybe 50,000 people live in villages just like this one on the banks of the River Nile, just outside Aswan, fiercely proud of their ancient traditions. There's evidence of this heritage all around the village. Now, while the community is keeping the spirit of the Nubian culture alive, this school is preparing its youngsters for the modern world. Rab Suhail is the oldest school in the Nubian village and the biggest. One of the teachers from the school, Fatma, takes me to a classroom where English is being taught. Learning English is a bridge to the future for the children here. A, B, C, D. And this class of kindergarteners seems to be getting the hang of it. But the school also provides a direct link to the children's past by teaching their native language, Nubian. As a teenager, Murad Yusuf was among the volunteers who helped build the school more than half a century ago. Now that he's the principal, he sees his current role as just as important in keeping traditions alive. Principal Murad's explained that what is important to him is explaining to everybody the importance of the language to make sure that traditions as well as the culture is maintained. Nubian civilization stretches back at least 3,000 years and spread from southern Egypt into Sudan. But across the millennia, the greatest threat to the Nubian people's survival came just 55 years ago, in 1960, when construction began on the Aswan Dam. The hydroelectric power the dam generated provided most Egyptian villages with electricity for the first time. The dam also prevents the Nile from flooding, and this in turn revolutionized farming in the country. But for the Nubians, the dam spelt big trouble. It created Lake Nasser, and that flooded much of their homeland. Thousands of Nubian people were scattered. Many of them ended up here. Their livelihood now depends on tourists. Most of the people here have opened up their homes, some with rather exotic house guests. The Nile River crocodiles too have found their habitat disrupted by the dam, so now they're kept here to lure in tourists. Visitors even have the opportunity for a hands-on experience, something, however, that I'm not keen to try. You also have baby crocodiles here.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think I don't think I can. Maybe next. Oh my goodness! The people here seem determined to keep the spirit of Nubia alive in their architecture, customs, and of course, in the classroom. It's a remarkable story, really, just how Egypt managed to tame the Nile here and also turn the Nubian world upside down. But over the millennia, the people of the Nile have learned there is a way to move with the river.
And obviously some great insights there from Fahmida Miller on the Nubian. So people with such a rich history and traditions. So Mohammed, really great, especially for me, you know, coming here as a visitor in Egypt, getting to experience some of these traditions, you know, that the Nubians have.
Before talking about the Nubians, do you have crocodiles at home?
Yes, we do have lots of them in East Africa, actually.
Yes. At home you raise crocodiles?
Oh, no, we don't.
I have like tons at home. Okay, anyway, let's talk about Nubians. They have their own special music, they have their own special costumes.
Right.
And we will be enjoying them this evening, their special music, and hopefully we'll go and dance with them.
Yeah.
I bet, you know, all people living on the River Nile have their own touch when it comes to culture, when it comes to music, and when it comes to costumes.
But what is it that strikes you the most about, say, for instance, the Nubians? You know, when you talk about the Nubian culture, the Nubian traditions, what comes up the most about that tradition?
Well, colors, women, because women play a very important role in the Nubian culture. I would say throughout Cairo and Egypt, women are playing very important role in the history of Egypt. And in the Nubian culture, women do handcrafts, very clever in that, and they are very clever in choosing the color. Usually they use, you know, straight colors, real colors, like African colors, very close to that.
Right. And these handcrafts may be attached to specific occasions. Maybe we have a newborn in the family, or maybe some girl is getting married, and there's maybe some special kind of, you know,
tattoo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do these handcrafts, are they designed for special occasions, or are they just for beauty?
Usually for special occasions, but what is really tricky is that even in Cairo and other cities around Egypt, you would find tattoo, for instance, for the bride and her friends. I would think this is normal even in Africa, right?
But what kind of tattoo would a bride have, for instance?
I'm not a special in tattoos, but I just see it with
right.
you know.
So they would have the special henna drawings, I imagine,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
For decorations on their arms.
Yes, and usually a bride would have her own special tattoo that's different from any other tattoos around here.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit though about this land here, because we are right next to, we are very close to a Nubian village, and I couldn't help but notice that right through our drive to this place, this basically was the landscape. If you just look behind me, you will see lots and lots of rocks. What is this about? What happened here?
Well, what's really great about Aswan is that you'll have a great combination of rocks, desert, and then you'll have the River Nile, the river of life for Egypt, as I said before, and then landscape. This is a combination you'll find throughout the River Nile, starting from Aswan down to Cairo.
It almost looks as if there were some buildings up here and then perhaps they were brought down. When you look at how the arrangement of these rocks behind us. And I thought maybe could there have been some temples perhaps that were buried underneath?
Possibly. I would say that people will start building their own houses. They go down and they find monuments. You would be, I would say, we're all walking on monuments all over the place here.
Right.
Yes, this is a place full of the spirit of history. It goes back like 4,000 years ago.
But do people in Egypt appreciate the importance of this history? Do they understand what it means to them?
Definitely, definitely. It's in our genetics, because, you know, Panina, we say that it's even in our language today, the way we think, the way we look at ourselves, because River Nile and history are like sisters going hand in hand throughout the history of Egypt.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just about it for now, but we'll have pretty more 1700 GMT, because we shall be live from a Nubian village, and we're going to just give you a glimpse of what Mohammed was talking about, the dances, the traditions, the colors. I'm hoping even the food, and we just try and be part of these rich traditions of this Nubian people, the Nubian community here in Aswan Victory. So we shall be live at 1700 GMT from that Nubian village. Don't miss it.
Indeed, Penina, thank you very much. Penina and Mohammed will return at 1700 GMT with a lot more from Egypt across the River Nile, and of course throughout the whole week we will be looking at the River of Life. Do join us then.